Today we're going to continue chapter 1, numbers to 10,000. We're going to be doing lesson 4, rounding to the nearest 10. Our learning objective is going to be I can use number lines and place values to round to the nearest 10. Some of the words that mean the same as rounding are estimate and about. So whenever you listen to these words, actually what I want you to estimate. But when do we estimate? We estimate when we go to the store and we are trying to pay and we want to calculate about how much we are going to be paying. So we do a rough estimate. Sometimes when we're measuring, we try to know about how long something is. So we do an estimation, trying to do a little guess. And for that, we're going to be rounding numbers. When we're going to the store too and we want to buy about a certain quantity of produce, we estimate about how much the weight is going to be. And sometimes we estimate too when we are trying to find different sizes and we are not sure about the size. So we're trying to estimate and round and get an approximation of the number we are looking. To round to the nearest 10, the first thing I'm going to do is use a number line. And the first thing I need to do is to put the range of numbers that are going to be in this number line. So my first number is going to be the number 10. And the last number is going to be number 20. Now, when I have this range and I have some spaces, I need to know which ones are my missing numbers. So usually I'm going to try to start first the middle point, the middle number, and this time it's going to be 15. And then I have to figure out the rest of the numbers. So I'm going to fill out my number line to make sure I have all the numbers I need. Then 13, 14, 15. And then I'm going to fill up the other side of the number line with 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So now I'm going to place a marker on the number I want to round. This time I want to round number 13. Now to round, we're going to explain some of the rules. So let's think that if my number, the number I'm trying to round, finishes in 1, 2, 3, and 4, that means that I'm going to round the number to the, we're going to round this number down. Let me explain how that works. So let me just write this, that this is going to go down. So for example, the number I'm trying to look here is number 13, and 13 finishes in 3. And if you notice, 3 is in this group of numbers. So that means I'm going to go down, or that means I'm trying to get to the least number. The least number. In this case, the least number is going to be number 10. So I can tell that number 13 rounds to 10. Why? Because it finishes in 3, and that means I'm going down on the number line, I'm going to the least number. So when I go there, I notice that 13 is closer to 10 because I only have to jump three steps, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm only moving 3 spaces. If I want to go to the 20, I have to move more spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 spaces. So when I'm trying to round, I'm trying to get it to the easier number between the range of 10 and 20. 13 is closer to 10 than to 20. And that's the reason why 13 is going to round to the 10. So that's why 13 rounds to 10. Now let's see the other situation. In this occasion, I have my marker in number 18. And then I have to talk about the other rule that applies to this number. So when the numbers finish in 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, this time we're going to go up. We're going to count up. Also, we're going to try to get to the greatest number. For example, in this occasion, the 18 finishes in 8, and 8 is here in this side, and that means I have to move up to the greatest number. Now, my greatest number this time is going to be 20. And just to make you see it easier, if I'm in 18, I only have to do 2 steps, 2 places to get to 20. Whereas if I try to go to 10, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 spaces. So I notice that 18 is closer to 20 than to 10. And because I'm rounding and I have to go up because my last digit is an 8, I'll go for 20. So I can tell that 18 rounds to 20. Now, if my marker happens to be right in the middle of my number line, like 15 is, and I try to find which number is closer, which 10 is closer, the 10 or the 20, I'm going to find out that I have to count from 15 to 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and from 15 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces too. So I can notice that the distance is equal from 10 to 15, and from 15 to 20, the distance is equal. So when we're right in the middle, that means we're going to always round to the greatest number, because 5 is in the side that says we have to go up to the greatest number. So number 15 is going to become 20. So I can tell that 15 rounds to 20. Or it's going to be rounded to 20 because they have the same distance, but this time always when we're in the middle, we're going to go up to the greatest number. So let's try this, but this time we're going to try it with a number line. I mean, we're going to try this now, but with a place value chart. Another word to express rounding, as I told you before, is using a place value chart. And we still have the same numbers. If the number we're trying to round finishes in 1, 2, 3, and 4, we stay at the same 10. But if it finishes in 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we go to the next 10. So let me exemplify that using the number 12. Now, number 12 is between two 10s. It's between the 10, and this side is going to be in the number line at 10, and in the other side of the number line is going to be at 20. So I need to determine where the number is rounded and which one is closer. So I'm going to look at my rule, and I'm going to see that the number 12 finishes in the number 2. That means it's going to stay at the same 10. So the 10 is going to stay the same. And the 10 that is closer, now is going to make that this 2 is going to become a 0. So the number 12 is going to become a 10. So I can tell that 12 is 10 when rounded to the nearest ten. Now let's do another number. This time I'm going to have number 17. Now 17, the first 10 I have is 10, and the next one is going to be 22. So 17 is between the 10 and the 20. So let me see what's my last digit. My last digit is a 7, and 7 is in this side. So that means I'm going to go to the next 10. So if I have only one 10, the next 10 is going to be 2. And the 7 is going to become a 0. So I can tell that 17 is 20 when rounded to the nearest 10. Now let's try to solve a harder problem. So let's read the problem. The problem says there are 762 people at the baseball game, about how many more people was at the game. So the first thing we have to remember, we're rounding to the tens. So I have two tens in my number line. The first one is going to be 762, and the next one is going to be 770. Now remember, one of the things we said, we need to find first the number in the middle. And the number in the middle goes there, and it's going to be 765. Now I'm looking for the 762. So my 762 is going to be here where the purple marker is. So here is going to be 762. Now, because of the rules we have, we notice that the 762 finishes in 2. So that means I'm going to apply this rule because it's in this side. So here says I'm going to stay in the same 10. And that means I'm going to, the hundreds are going to stay the same. So I'm going to put the hundreds the same. So first I'm going to put 762 is, so the hundreds are going to stay the same because I'm not changing the hundreds, I'm changing the tens. I'm rounding to the tens. And then here says that 2 is on the side, so I stay in the same 10. So my 10 this time is a 6. So the 6 stays the same because here says that it stays in the same 10. So my 10 is going to stay in the same place. And the 2 is going to become a 0 because the closest number, which is only 2 steps distance, 2 spaces, is this one, 760. So it becomes a 0. So 762 is 760 when rounded to the nearest 10, when rounded. To the nearest 10. Now you can notice that that's the case because if you pay attention, the 760 is closer than the 770. So remember, we're trying to find which one is the closest. If we try to solve the same problem, there are 762 people at the baseball game, about how many people was at the game, we're going to apply the same rules. So we have 762, and I'm going to notice the last digit. The last digit is a 2, is on this side, and here says you stay at the same 10. So that means my 700 is going to repeat. I'm not changing it. And I'm stay at the same 10. So the same 10 is going to be 6. And that means this is going to become a 0. So the number is going to round to 760. So 762 is 760 when rounded to the nearest 10, because the only thing we're changing is the tens and the ones at this point. Now let's try a number in the other side of the spectrum. Now we have a problem very similar to the one we had before. And here says there are 768 oranges at the store. About how many oranges are at the store? So when we have this word about, that means we're rounding. And again, we had to find the middle number. The middle number in this number line is whatever is in between 760 and 770. That's going to be 765. And now, again, I have to find the number 768. It is 65, 766, 767, 768. So my 768 is going to be here. Now, if you notice, I can see right away which number is closer, because to get to the 770 is only 2 spaces, and to get to the 760 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. So, oops. Let me just open it again. I closed it by mistake. So we can notice that the 768 is closer to 770. So my number is going to round to this number just because it's closer to this number, because this one is very far. So remember, when we're rounding, we're trying to get to the closest one. Now we can apply the rule 2. I notice that 768 finishes in the digit 8. So digit 8 is in this side now, and now it's telling me that I had to go to the next 10. So how that goes? If I'm in 78, so 768, I go to the next 10. So if the 10 is 6, then I have to go to the 10, the next 10, which is 7. And the 8 is going to round to the 0. So I can tell that 768 is 770 when rounded to the nearest 10. Now I have almost the same number here. Now I have 766 oranges at the store. I have my number in my place value chart, and I still have the same rules. So let me see what's the digit that my number finishes. My number finishes in 6. So that means I'm going to apply this rule here, that when it's on 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, I go to the next 10. So when I run, if I'm going to the next 10, that means my hundreds are going to stay the same, because I'm not changing the hundreds. I'm not rounding to the hundreds place. I'm rounding to the tens. And this time says that if my number finishes in 6, I have to go to the next 10. So if I have 6 tens, the next 10 is going to be 7. And the 6 is going to be changed by a 0. Because in my number line, I'm going to be closer to the 770. So I'm going to have the same answer as before. 766 is 770 when rounded to the tens place.